Let me shift here, and I just want to talk a little bit about silence. Silence, my sisters and brothers, has many dimensions. There is a sacred silence, which is that silence out of which creative contemplation grows. It's a meditation on the word and the will of God. It's the silence out of which we meditate and get closer to God. It's the silence in which fervent prayer is born. There is a sacred silence. But then there's a seething silence that comes when you are quiet externally, but you've got a storm going on the inside. The late Dr. Howard Thurman called that a noisy quietness. But then finally, and here's the silence I want to get to, there is a sinful silence. And Adam's silence falls into this category because a sinful silence is a silence that comes over you when you ought to say something, but you don't say nothing at all. It is that silence that creeps in when you ought to speak up for God, but you sit there acting like you don't know what God said. My sisters and brothers, I fear that Adam was not only silent on that fateful day in the garden when a serpent showed up, but Adam has remained silent through the centuries. When Africans were captured and taken from their homeland, packed in the hulls of ships, sold on auction blocks, beat and killed and misused and kept in shadow slavery, Adam was silent. When Jews were persecuted, deported, and murdered by Nazis, Adam was silent. When Native Americans were slaughtered in the acts of genocide so their land could be taken from them, Adam was silent. When our ancestors were lynched and called boy and girl, even though they were full grown, when they were denied employment and equal access to resources, Adam was silent. And today, far too often, when our boys are shooting and killing each other on the streets, and our girls suffer from low self-esteem and give birth to children whose daddies won't stay around to take care of them, Adam is still silent. Sisters and brothers, there is a sinful silence among us when injustice is raging and we remain quiet. When people are aching, when people are hurting, when babies are crying and dying of hunger and not having enough love from insufficient care, and we remain silent, that is a sinful silence. When the church looks and sees what's going on in its communities, and not just in its communities, but what's going on right there in the household of faith, and we sit there and act like we don't know what's going on, that is a sinful silence. And let me suggest that there's a time when silence is sinful. And here in the text, we see a snake talking to Adam's wife. Adam remains silent. Adam should have said something. My sisters and brothers, the nation is waiting for somebody to say something. Go on, touch your neighbor and tell him you ought to say something. You see them boys on the corner, you ought to say something. You see what's happening with those sisters. I'm not talking about Pookie and Ray Ray and them. I'm talking about the saints' children. Y'all ain't gonna help me in here today. You ought to say something. The classroom is waiting for somebody to say something. Youth violence is waiting for somebody to say something. Every community, every city, every town, every home, every boy, every girl, every family is waiting for the church to break the silence. And if we don't break the silence, let me tell you what's going to happen. If we don't break the silence, we end up embracing the appeals of the serpent. What are the appeals of the serpent? Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. You've got a responsibility to go back to Lodabar. Your work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Thank you, Jesus. Don't pull up the ladder because you climbed to the top. Don't blow up the bridge because you made your way across. Thank you, Jesus. But reach your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of Lodabar. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. That's the name of the Lord. Somebody got to tell themselves it's all right if you got it now. Just hold it for me. I'll be there to get it after a while. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. You got to make up in your mind that what God has for me, it is for me. I might not have it right now. I may not get it next week. You might try to stop me from getting it. But if God said it's mine, I want you to know after a while, I'm going to get what belongs to me. Sometimes God got to strip what you got so you don't depend on yourself. He got to take away from you so you understand how to depend on El Shaddai. Come on in here. Thank you, Jesus. Our young people are dying. Cracked out. Suicide. Homicide. They'll kill you at the drop of a dime. Our jails are full. Yet the crime still runs rampant. Sometimes God got to strip what you got so you don't depend on yourself. Thank you, Jesus. 90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African-American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness. and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. It is 5 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. And I want to thank Mr. Kenneth Barnett for bringing us up into the 9 o'clock hour with the promise. You can hear the promise every Monday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., bringing you the best in gospel music. Good way to start out your Monday morning. A great way to start out your week. Welcome to everybody who is up in the place here at, in the Pioneer Valley, over our 4,000 watts on WTCC. Welcome to everybody in our streaming audience, all of our social media listeners, those who have rolled in here on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram. Welcome to each and every one of you. Do me a favor. I need you to like, share, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. Let your followers know that Bishop is on the air. Good morning to you. And then I need for you all to rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. Love to know where you're listening from. Welcome to those that are in the Twitter space. In about 3 minutes, we're going to get our Facebook audio popping. So there's all kinds of ways that you can listen to us. So definitely find a way to chime in and tune in to the program. Coming up at 1:30 is Senator Eric Lesser with our State House update, updating us on what's happening in the Massachusetts State House. I know they just passed a budget for ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan money. So he's going to update us on all of that stuff. I see Chicago in the house on the gram. That's it. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from so we can acknowledge those. I see Jupiter, Florida in the house. I see Seattle, Washington popping over here on the gram. What's happening with y'all on the Facebook and the YouTube side? I see Dallas over here on Facebook up in the house. Good morning to you, nephew Tyrell. Good morning, everybody. We're going to acknowledge y'all after we take a little music break, spoken word break. But today, I see ATL Atlanta in the place. Y'all got a mayor named Dre. Woo-wee! Ain't life sweet right now. Connecticut is in the house. Good morning, Aunt Mary. Good morning, Whitney, my daughter Whitney. Good morning to each of you on today. So today, I'm going to be talking about American history is not critical race theory. You all have heard for the last 6 months it popping around in the media, and white folks never heard of it before it started popping up in the media and stuff. And you've heard critical race theory, critical race theory, critical race theory, critical race theory. We can't have critical race theory. And they don't even know what critical race theory is. Okay, they don't know what it is. And it's not American history. They want you to believe that teaching about systemic racism and how it has shaped the history of America is some theory that shouldn't be taught in school. No, that's just American history. It's not critical race theory. And we're going to talk about that when we come back. 413-337-1867. Jacksonville, Florida is up in the house. Brunswick, New Jersey is in the hizzy. Rep your city, rep your town. Let somebody know the bishop is on the air right now. Don't touch that dial. Don't go nowhere. Don't start, surfing and stuff on the break. But if you do surf on the break, because I know y'all do that, come right back, okay? Because we're going to be right back, and we're going to be talking about this important subject. Stay with us. This is Talbert Swan. I like what I see. We'll be right back.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen and hidden, but it just made me stronger, and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop to their level. Don't go down. I rose above that nonsense and made a liar of the devil. All right now. The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love, I kicked his butt with divine power from above. Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me, he came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. She's looking good. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
Talk to me.
Talk to me, Daddy.
Orlando, Florida, what's happening?
Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, talk to me, Daddy.
Bostonian in D.C. What's happening, D.C.? Good morning, the real Stacy Riley.
Attitude says everything about you. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Every day you get up, you've been given a gift. That's why they call it the present. And it's up to you of how you unwrap it. So yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, today is a gift. So don't let the pain of your past bleed into your present and poison your future. Stop replaying the movie. Why did this happen to me? When it's done with you, be done.
Be done with it.
If it seems like you keep running into pigeons,
you're flying too low.
You're flying too low.
Mississippi in the house.
A little higher. Remember, eagles fly by themselves.
Alfred.
You can see the invisible. You can do
New Jersey.
Impossible. Allow your challenges to be a stepping stone to propel you into new possibilities. So be discontent with your past accomplishment. You're only as great as your last success. So maintain your hunger and your passion. Remember this, within every seed there is a tree. In every tree there is a forest. Who and what you were born into is simply the environment to prepare you for your ultimate purpose. It was not a setback, it was a setup.
A setup, y'all.
Potential is bigger than your past pain or problem.
Memphis in the house. Jackson, Mississippi. Maryland is in the house. Ludlow's always in the house, Brother Moore.
Successful people will do the
Springfield, of course.
Get the things they love. Much of life is about sacrifice. You got to give up something to get something. Success is not about what you've accomplished, but it's what you have overcome. For it's the test that you pass in life which qualifies you for the next level. You have to be willing to face your challenges and overcome them. Most people drive 12,000 miles a year moving forward, but most accidents are caused when they move backwards. You gotta stay focused on what's ahead of you instead of what's behind you. It's your daily routine that determines your success or failure. Whatever you practice at is what you become great at. What's more important than being intelligent is having the right attitude. Respect costs you nothing, but it will cost you everything not to have it. So don't be too smart for your own good. Remember, a hard head makes a soft behind.
Soft behind, y'all.
More than your five senses is common sense.
Common sense.
The heart of a fool is in his mouth, but the heart of a wise man is in his character.
I see you, First Lady Hightower.
Small things. The answer for a short temper is a long walk. Be slow to speak, quick to listen, and remember this. You haven't lived long enough to know everything. Your character is what matters most. Once you have been labeled with a bad reputation, it's hard for people to see you any other way. A good name is worth more than all the money in the world. Your life is broken up into
I see you. Good morning. What's up, son? Shout out my son Trey Austin Swan on the gram. Talk to me, Kang. I see you, cousin. 413-337-1867 is the number. If you're not rolling in on social media and you want to call in on the program and you can make your request. If you're in the Twitter space, hit that request button. Make sure the speaker's on so I can bring in those in the Twitter space. Same thing in the Facebook audio room as well. Yeah, I'm back live on the gram, Jules. I'm back live on the gram. And I did see that fake page on the gram, so I'm gonna take care of that. Good morning, Toronto, Canada. It's up in the hizzy, y'all. 413-337-1867. We in here. We in here deep on Facebook. We in here deep on the gram. We in here on YouTube, and we got 4,000 watts across Western Massachusetts, Vermont, Connecticut, all over the Pioneer Valley. For those that are listening to us today, tell somebody we're in here, okay? Listen, I need y'all to understand what gaslighting is. You see, gaslighting is when folks know something ain't true, but they push it off so they can deflect from the truth that you're speaking, to change the subject, to diminish or try to delegitimize what it is you're saying. It's like when you talk about the extrajudicial murder of black people by police, and they change the subject to black on black crime. Really no such thing as black on black crime. People do crime in the vicinity where they are. Most people that kill white people are other white people. Most people who kill Asians are other Asian people. But nobody ever says Asian on Asian crime, or white on white crime, or Latino on Latino crime, black on black crime. And they're basically changing the subject because we don't want to focus on the reality of systemic racism and the disparate treatment of black people by law enforcement in this nation. And so, yes, Jules, I'm live on YouTube too. And so they want to deflect from that. And there's a lot of gaslighting that goes on to change the subject from systemic racism in America. Some of that gaslighting is around this whole thing, this whole controversy about critical race theory. Charleston, South Carolina is in here. Welcome. And so what they want you to think is that a theory that has been taught in law schools only, never been taught in elementary, middle school, high school, undergraduate, in college. It's only been taught in law school. Shouldn't be taught to kids, to grade school kids, and it's not. And so what they want to try to make you think is that any coverage of systemic racism or the history of racism in America is all lumped into critical race theory. So they are gaslighting. It's gaslighting on steroids. Gaslighting on steroids. Let me get in here on Facebook, and I need to block this clown, Ray Miller. Ray Miller, your mama. Sometimes we can usually deal with trolls, but when they get downright disrespectful in such a way, then we got to get rid of them. We got to get rid of them. And so there's always some crazy troll trying to jump in here and act a fool. So there, your mama, your daddy, your greasy granny, your orphan Annie got a hole in her panties. Anyway, he's gone. So since the spring, critical race theory has become the focal point of these strident public debates over the teaching of history and civics in K through 12 schools. And it's not that. Critical race theory has nothing to do with that. You understand what I'm saying? Nothing to do with that. This is the conversation. They're talking about it being taught at colleges. Don't make me laugh, Miss Charlene. Don't make me laugh in the middle of my radio program. Anyway, and talking about it being taught in colleges and universities, and much of the discussion around this theory, it's been maddeningly abstract and distressingly ill-informed. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Okay? They have no clue what they're talking about. They don't know what critical race theory is. These folks just say stuff. Just say stuff. And it's frustrating because people know what it is, are scratching their heads like, oh my God. It's like this whole thing when they talk about Black Lives Matter being Marxist. It's Marxist. These clowns don't even know what Marxist is. They don't know what Marxism is. Good morning, Tennessee. They don't know the difference between Karl Marx and Groucho Marx, let alone what Marxism is. And I always get them because I say, well, you know what? At least Karl Marx had a problem with racism. He was against racism. Y'all ain't. So I'd rather be Marxist than a conservative white Christian today. But they use these words. It's like when Barack Obama was running for president, it was socialism. Joe the plumber said it sounds like socialism, and they ran with it for the whole time he was in office. Socialism, socialism, socialism. With half of them old white folks crying about socialism was getting a social security check and Medicare, the ultimate socialist programs in America. I mean, the hypocrisy is astounding. So now you go from socialism to Marxism, and now it's critical race theory. They don't have a clue what they're talking about again. Okay? Don't have a clue. Critical race theory. Basically, my brothers and sisters, it provides an intellectual framework to understand the many ways that government entities and private interests have put racial ideologies into practice in the form of laws, taxation policies, public works projects, regulatory guidelines, profit-making schemes, hiring preferences, and more. It's an intellectual framework that basically helps you to understand how racism has been codified into law and affects American public policy and how non-white people are treated in America. That's what critical race theory is, in a nutshell, a very rough definition. American history is a series of factual information of things that happened in America, that actually happened. It's not a theory. It's not critical race theory. It's facts. And there's a difference, a distinction between critical race theory and American history. Okay? Critical race theory, intellectual framework to understand how government entities, private interests put racial ideologies into practice in the form of laws, taxation policies, public works projects, regulatory guidelines, profit-making schemes, everything that has to do with American society. American history is just history. And the cumulative effects of the practices studied by critical race theory include the persistent patterns of poverty and inequity among mainly non-white, specifically Black populations. Patterns that have proven to be impervious to civil rights legislation. And despite its critics and their claims to the contrary, critical race theory does not focus on individuals. It does not focus on individual acts of discrimination. It illuminates and it draws attention to the historic biases that are embedded in economic and political structures. Doesn't talk about any particular individual, any particular entity. Okay? It talks about, it draws attention to, it illuminates historic biases in American systems, historic biases that are embedded in American systems and structures. American history is just that, American history. But what critical race theory can do, it can help people to rethink certain assumptions that they have. It can help them to understand and to recognize the forces in society that perpetuate racial bias. All right? Even after the passage of major civil rights legislation. Good morning. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. I'm calling because I called one day last week about an incident with the guy that had started out as road rage, and then it ended up to me, I thought, would have been harassing, and because he came back and circled my car and called me all kind of racial slurs. But then when I speak to the officer that came to the report, he's saying that there's nothing that they can do. And I will have to go to the civil court.
Okay, help me understand. Help me one more time. Caller?
So I'm calling because the young guy came back and circled my car and called me racial slurs.
Uh-huh. You're talking about a police officer?
I want everybody to know. The individual, but the police officer in Lexington County, South Carolina, saying that there is no case.
Oh,
there's nothing they can do.
The cop said there's nothing they can do about it. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Is it on videotape?
I filmed them calling me that and circling my car. Yeah.
Okay, and the police said they can't. Have you reached out to any civil rights organizations in your area?
No.
I'd encourage you to do that. I'd encourage you
Okay.
to seek some advice from those who kind of specialize in these issues, and then see what they have to say about what can potentially be done. Because even if the police can't do anything about it, you can still probably sue the individual. If they have a job, I'm sure you can probably get them fired, because most employers do not want this kind of information circulating around about people who work for them. So there are other things that you can do, even if the police aren't willing to do anything.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for your call. 413-337-1867. We'll get back into this conversation on critical race theory. In the meantime, let me bring up Senator Eric Lesser, who is State House update every Monday, first Monday of the month. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Bishop. Happy Monday.
Same to you. How you feeling?
Good. Yeah, no complaints. Nice. A little rainy outside, but no complaints. Good. Not bad for a Monday.
How was your Thanksgiving?
It was great. No, thanks for asking. Hope you had a nice one too. We went down. My in-laws live in Maryland. We haven't been in a while. Down there in a while because of COVID. So but was able to get down there and spend a few days down there, which was nice. So yeah, back to the swing of things now. So.
Gotcha. So what's happening in the State House? I know you all just passed the ARPA thing. So why don't you give us the update?
Yeah. So finally, that's done. I know for a couple months now, you and I have been talking, and I kept saying it's coming. And then there was a little bit of a delay last month, but it's done. It was sent to the governor last week. And there's a lot in there that's really going to help us here in Western Mass in particular. One really important provision that I'm very excited about is a $500 million provision to provide bonus pay to essential workers who worked throughout the pandemic. So think about the home health attendants, the group home workers, the community service workers that are really on the front lines, through nursing home staffs. Through the height of the pandemic, that'll be great, and some really important funding for housing, and also for broadband investment and closing the tech gaps is going to be in there too. So there's a lot in there. There's also local stuff. So we got some good funding for the food bank of Western Mass, some really good funding for Wayfinders. And some really important funding for other community organizations, community health centers. Another provision, something that held up some of the negotiations a little bit, but tried to get in economic development bill that we did earlier this year. Will be in this package, not going to the governor signs it, is new provisions around transparency and contracting and diverse goals for contracting for the state government. So this means the state is hiring for not only for kind of brick and mortar kind of construction jobs, but also professional service and other kind of employment and contracting positions. And also very importantly, we're going to have this is a really neat provision that again we work pretty hard to get is a new accountability review board, which is that as spending happens on this $3 billion legislation, you're going to have almost real time reporting back to the legislature about where and how the money is spent, which is
okay. Pause right there. You said $3 billion. Help me understand, because I thought the state was getting $5 billion. So
yes,
make that clarification.
So all of this is being done, and we're keeping $2 billion in reserve. So that's actually the good news about this is, we don't know what's happening with Omicron, how to pronounce it. There's still a lot of uncertainty around the virus recovery. So one of the things we decided to do was hold $2 billion back in trust, basically in the reserve, so we can go back depending on what happens in the coming months with the virus economy. So we're able to react. That was a pretty everyone kind of agreed that was a smart governor in his original proposal had that reserve. Legislature really all of this was operating under the understanding it's been all of it right now. If in 2 months, 5 months, 6 months, we see a different situation with the virus, we bad shape. So that explains the gap there.
Gotcha. Okay. And so now you all move to dealing with the next fiscal year budget.
Yeah.
That process has to be coming up soon.
Yeah, so we did two things as part of this recovery package. We did the ARPA money, which is the money that came from the federal government. We also did a supplemental budget, which was the remaining FY22 fund that came over collection. So now in January, back after the year, that's really when the budget for the new coming fiscal year process really starts in earnest. So the governor's going to put his, they call it H2, second year of our session out, budget proposal, and then the House will go with their version, the Senate will go with their version in May. We hopefully get them reconciled in June and is finalized July. So that process will start in a few weeks.
Gotcha. Now the big news I think of the state is last week Governor Baker announcing that he would not be seeking re-election. And of course, your buddy Donald Trump. I'm just playing with you.
Wow,
Donald Trump.
That's an insult.
He put out a statement saying, Governor Baker is not running for re-election because he can't get my endorsement. Of course, we know that has nothing to do with it at all, but he had to throw that in there. That kind of opens up the field. Do you think Lieutenant Governor Polito is interested in seeking the Republican nomination? And then what do you think about the prospects on the Democratic side? Because, of course, that's going to be wide open as well.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a lot to kind of sort through there. I mean, first, I do wish Governor Baker well. Him and I had disagreements on certain things. He's obviously a Republican. We did work well together where we had agreement, and I do think he's an honorable person who has given his best over the last several years. So I definitely want to give him his due and wish him well. The biggest kind of surprise I thought was all about Karen Polito announced that she's not running.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Republican side is wide open.
Yeah, exactly. So the Republican side is totally open, and that does leave Jeff Deal, who's the Trump candidate, as maybe at this point the most likely person to be the Republican nominee, which is wild. So that raised,
I mean, it was the whole thing of Trump claiming that Baker didn't run because he couldn't get his endorsement, and this notion that the Trump candidate is the guy who's going to get the nomination. It's crazy because this is still Massachusetts, and I know that we have elected a lot of Republican governors, but they were all moderate Republicans. There's no way in the world Massachusetts is going to elect a Trump-backed candidate. I don't see that happening.
It's just one more example of Trump's megalomania. I mean, the Trump's opposition to Baker arguably helped Baker, right? Because people wanted to see it, and the polling was pretty interesting because Baker actually did better with Democrats in Massachusetts than he did with the Republicans in his own party, which is kind of wild. So we'll see how that all shakes out. I mean, a lot of names circulating on the Democratic side. There'll be a lot of movement. Certainly Morky, is someone who's very strong on the Democratic side for the nomination. So, we'll see how it plays out. As they say, too soon to tell.
Do you have a candidate?
I'm not getting ahead of myself on that just yet. Yeah, it's a fluid situation, but I do think it's going to be an exciting 2022 to say the least.
Yeah, I think so. As well. It's going to be very, very interesting. So we'll see what happens with that. Why don't you give the folks your contact information?
Yeah, great. Again, as always, you can send me an email, eric.lesser@mhsenate.gov. Again, eric.lesser@mhsenate.gov. District office, give me a call, 414-526-6501. On Twitter, at Eric Lesser. On Instagram, at Eric Lesser, MA, and also on Facebook, Eric Lesser, MA. So, social media, email, call, or just stop me or say hi when I'm out and about and we can't help.
All right. Always a pleasure, Senator. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Bishop.
All right. Take care.
We're going to be waiting for the coveted Bishop Swan endorsement to clear out the 2022 field.
Well, we're gonna see who all emerges in this.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. Take care.
Yeah.
413-337-1867. That was Senator Eric Lesser, who comes on every first Monday. Our State House update. What's happening in the Massachusetts legislature. And so we need to be informed. Those of us that are in this area definitely want to know what's happening. And I'm sure in y'all area, y'all want to know what's happening. So that's what we do. Once again, 413-337-1867. Some of you were trying to get in on the line while the senator was on. We're going to let you in now. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hello there. Am I speaking to the man himself?
Well, I don't know who the man is, but this is Bishop Swan.
Hello, Bishop Swan. My name is Simon. I'm calling from England.
All right.
I'm a big fan of yours via Twitter.
You're not the Simon from the reality shows, are you?
No.
All right.
No, I am a podcaster though, so I'm kind of doing my radio voice at the moment.
Gotcha.
My name's Simon. I'm of mixed race heritage. Not that actually bears on anything, because I'm basically the color of correction fluid.
Okay.
So I have a question for you about the Hodge Twins.
Okay.
I have been dragged by a lot of my white friends for calling them out when they pull well, these guys are black and they say I'm not racist.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Mm-hmm.
And I have replied to them, that's their Uncle Tom's. And at which point their top hat flies off and their monocle drops into their cup of Earl Grey tea. I said, you can't say that. That's racist.
Okay.
I've had to disconnect from one friend because he just persists in reposting this Hodge Twins, Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro bullshit on Facebook all the time. So what I wanted to ask was, number one, can I just get a little pat on the head for calling this shit out? And number two, do you have any advice on how to talk to people about this kind of performative black best friend for hire crap?
Yeah.
that is making people a lot of money. It's making them bank on the internet
Oh, big time.
and on right-wing stuff. You know.
Listen. I tell people all the time, if I wanted to cash in, all I would need to do, I need to stop condemning white supremacy, racism, and anti-bigotry. And what I need to do is start talking grimy about black people. Tell people there's no such thing as systemic racism, and use all of those talking points. The Thomas Sowell, Hodge Twins, Diamond and Silk, Candace Owens talking points, and I would start getting book deals, offers for TV shows and radio shows, and money out the wazoo, big time. That's all I have to do, because they are looking for a black face. They're looking for someone to co-sign their bigotry, to give it credibility, so they can say they said it and they're black. And if you notice, all of these people, they're not people who had any level of success in any facet of American life. It's not like that these people are coming from academia. They're not coming from the field of medicine or science or politics or anywhere else. They're just some randoms. Candace Owens was an unemployed blogger who was talking trash about Trump on YouTube before she decided to flip and become a conservative. She had never even voted until 2020. She never voted in her life. But because she had a black face and was talking the right message, they propped her right on up. And the same thing with the Hodge Twins and Diamond and Silk, and whoever heard of these people? Nobody. So yeah, you get the proverbial pat on the head for calling these clowns out. My opinion of them is that they are sycophantic, buck dancing, butter biscuit eating, Uncle Ruckus sellouts and coons that are white supremacy apologists who serve a purpose. And when they no longer serve a purpose, the same folks that are patting them on the back will kick them to the curb.
We are of one mind on that, and I do love it when you say Uncle Ruckus. But my question really is, though, is there a way to communicate with people about this, or is it best just to call them out on it and just move on with your life?
That's it. You call them out and you move on, because the people that are in their corner, especially our Caucasian brothers and sisters that support these folks, we know the reason that they support them. And, you know, they're not going to change from that. They're not. And so the only message I send to them is this, is they don't speak for black people. The Hodge Twins don't speak for black people. Brandon Tatum, Candace Owens, Larry Elder, Thomas Sowell, they don't speak for black people. The overwhelming majority of black people have no use for these folks. So these are white folks go to black people to try to legitimize their bigotry, and we're not having it.
Do you think that black people will vote for one of them, though?
No.
No.
Ask Alan Keyes, okay, whether or not black folk will vote for them. Ask any number of these candidates. Tim Scott got in by default when there was a vacancy and got appointed, and then he subsequently has won, but in a predominantly Republican state. You know, I guess they don't have a problem with an Uncle Ruckus, but he couldn't win anywhere else in America. So no, black folks aren't going to vote for these people at all.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, Bish.
All right.
Much love to you.
You too. Thank you for your call. 413-337-1867. 413-337-1867. Before we went on with the senator, I was trying to tell you all how teaching that is informed by critical race theory can challenge people to rethink certain assumptions and help them understand and recognize the forces in society that perpetuate racial bias. Even after the passage of major civil rights legislation, which, by the way, is being chipped away day by day. The Voting Rights Act has been basically nullified, and they're going after more civil rights legislation. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bishop Swan. Like I see the black and gold. I just want to call in and congratulate.
Brown and gold. That's brown. Oh, the black and gold. The Steelers.
Jackson, so we'll stop throwing interceptions.
Listen.
I just want to call in and give you
listen. As long as he throws interceptions to us, I'm good with it.
All right, man. You have a blessed day.
All right.
We got to play better than that. All right. Thanks for your time, Bishop.
All right.
I'm watching the show.
Thank you,
always.
sir. Thank you. As the shout out for the Steelers, who beat the Ravens yesterday. So all the Ravens fans, Joe Lyles, Bishop Joe Lyles, Bishop William McMillan. I did get to talk to both of them yesterday, tease them a little bit. My daughter Whitney, who's out here, Greg Ross. Come on, all you Ravens fans, where y'all at? Y'all quiet in the building. What's going on? Huh? Where the Raven fans at? Anyway, 413-337-1867. 9 minutes left in the spoken word. And we've been talking about how critical, and I guess I'm going to have to dedicate a second show to this because it's really, I can't really do it justice in one show. It is impossible to do this subject justice in one show. Just can't do it. So I'm going to have to continue this even on next week. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bishop.
Yes, sir.
I just have a question for you, sir. Did Antonio Brown do anything different than Aaron Rodgers?
Did Antonio Brown do anything different?
Then Aaron Rodgers, he got suspended because of the COVID.
Oh, yeah. He got suspended because he gave them a fake card, that said he was vaccinated. And my thing is, come on, man, stop it. Just if you're gonna get vaxxed and give them a real card. If you're not gonna get vaxxed, just tell them, hey, bro, I ain't getting vaxxed, and deal with the consequences of it. But don't give them a fake a vaccination card. Come on, man, he's too grown for that. He's too.
I didn't know what he did.
Yeah,
I grew up a fan of his because he's playing for the Steelers.
Right. That's what happened with him.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah, this subject too much to handle in one show because there's so much more to say about it. So much more that I can say about it or that we need to discuss about it. But critical race theory basically helps us to understand and recognize, racial bias. And now that it helps us to better understand American history, which is not critical race theory. And that's basically the theme of this show. Talking about the fact that approximately 4 million enslaved men, women, and children had to be freed by the Civil War. That's American history. That's not critical race theory. Ending the legal institution of bondage and the fact that ending slavery did not guarantee the former enslaved Black people actual freedom. That's not critical race theory. That's American history. Talking about the fact that enslaved folks that were freed emerged from the Civil War with little or nothing in the way of material possessions or financial resources because America reneged on the 40 acres and a mule, and they were relegated to sharecropping for generations to feed their families, and had to still deal with brutal racial violence and lynching and murder and rape. That's not critical race theory. That's American history. Talking about the fact that white folks colluded to deny black people access to credit, which meant they couldn't buy land. That's not critical race theory. That's American history. Talk about that, the fact that many freed people in the Cotton South became sharecroppers, and to talk about sharecropping as an exploitive labor system that took the form of slavery. That's not critical race theory. That's American history. If we talk about the fact that freed black people received no compensation for their lifelong backbreaking work or for the work of their forebearers over the preceding 2.5 centuries, and the fact that today black descendants of enslaved folks still can't even have a conversation with the U.S. government about reparations that is owed. That's not critical race theory. That's American history. If we talk about the fact that by 1910, the Confederate States had passed laws to disenfranchise black populations, and how local systems legally mandated segregation that served to humiliate black people in public, but didn't bar black servants from entering the white households every day to cook, clean, and care for their children. That ain't critical race theory. That's American history. That's white supremacy. That's white hypocrisy. That the same black folk who could come through the front door into your white home to cook and clean and take care of your children had to come into the back door in certain establishments, and in most other establishments weren't even allowed in the first place. If we talk about white terrorists who carried out a campaign of lynching and assault of black men and women across the South, that is not critical race theory. That is American history. You can't teach American history without talking about racism, without talking about white supremacy, without dealing with systemic racism. You can't do it. And so this whole erroneous attack on critical race theory is not an attack on critical race theory. It's an attack on American history. It's an attack on teaching the truth about the wickedness of white folks and the brutality that they exacted among black people. That's what they don't want taught. They don't want their children and grandchildren knowing who the real savages were. Because when you talk about savages, it's 9:58. I gotta transition off of WTCC. I'm gonna play a piece I talked about a little bit in my sermon yesterday. But you can't call us savages. Not when you lynched us from trees, cut off our genitals, took our scrotum home as a souvenir, and we're the savages? We the savages? I mean, come on, bruh. Stop it. Stop it. Oh, if only I had more time. For those of you on WTCC, come on over to the social media space. We'll continue for a little while. 413-337-1867. If you're looking for a place to worship, check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ. 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts. We're building better tomorrows by changing lives today. For those of you on WTCC, until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember God loves you, and so do I. Social media audience, stick with me.
Good morning. I can't hear anything. Don't know if y'all can hear me. Right. It's no sound for me either. I can't hear anything. I can see in the comments. Mother Green, can you hear me now? Can you hear? Oh, I think I can hear now too. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Good morning. Good morning, Justice and Flow audience and listeners. Did y'all miss me last week? Did y'all miss us last week? Did y'all miss the show last week? I missed y'all last week. Certainly, we were celebrating the life, and Lord, did we have a wonderful stand out for our mother, Gwen Page, and we got the love on her family and send her off really well. She lived a beautiful life, and we were so grateful for her and to be there on last week. But I missed y'all last week. I missed the show last week. I missed the listeners. More importantly, I missed y'all. I missed talking to y'all on last week. How y'all doing? How everybody doing? So much on my mind. So much on my mind. This is the end of the year. This is the end of 2021. We're in December. And I like to call December reset month. Anybody like me? I like to call December reset month. This is a time, to really take in everything that has happened throughout the year. Hey baby, hey Whitney, hey sweetheart, kiss the grandbabies for me. This is really a time and a season for us to just kind of regroup, and try to take in what has happened over the course of the last year so that we can kind of plan for the next year, the new year, and try to look forward to some new goals. I've done something new. I've decided to take a leave of absence from work. And so I just want to be transparent just for a moment, and maybe this is going to end up being the show topic today. I've been asking myself, because y'all know that I lost my mom last year. November the 11th is the anniversary, and it was the anniversary of her passing last year. And as the audience knows, my mother passed away from COVID complications. And then 6 months later, I lost my only brother, and he had a heart attack and passed away. And now they're buried next to each other. Now, those were certainly, two major losses, but there were quite a few losses prior to losing my mother. And in between my mother and my brother, and subsequently after my brother. Other relatives, aunts, we, just buried a cousin. Another cousin passed. And then we're out, actually to a funeral again this week out in Buffalo. So lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of losses in that way. But of course, then there are other losses that are compacting that, because this pandemic has brought on lots of losses of income and jobs and mobility and just you know lots of adjustment, lots of transition. Again, we're grieving losing people. Physically, we're grieving, losing a way of life that we knew, and having to adjust. I oftentimes tell people, because people are always looking to go back to what it was, and I oftentimes tell people, in events like this, when things like this come up on us, there's a shift, and so you have to be flexible enough and open enough to realize that more than likely you won't be able to go back to life the way that it was before the pandemic. There's adjustments that you need to make, and you need to be open and flexible to that, or else you're gonna be frustrated for the rest of your life. And so, and not only frustrated, but you will be miserable. I mean, chances are you'll end up being extremely miserable, and maybe bringing on even more anxiety, depression, and and other certainly emotional and mental disorders, into your life by fighting it. So, but anyway, I said all of that to say that I thought that I was good, because I technically um feel good, and I mean, and even mentally and emotionally, I wonder a lot of times, like, wow, I feel okay, and I've been amazed by that. And certainly, I know I'm not crazy enough to think that it had anything to do with me. I know that it's my faith that is holding me up and pushing me through, and then certainly my community. People like you, sending love and surrounding. Well, we're surrounding each other and supporting each other and loving on each other and trying to hold each other up and trying to push each other forward, even in the midst of this crisis. But I said all of that to say this, that I was still trying to work a full-time job, and I'm a mental health counselor, by way of a in-home therapist or a family therapist. And so this is my job, is to empower other people and to help them, develop coping skills and manage coping skills, and to create strategies and methods and interventions or whatever to again help them manage and cope and deal with the pressures, of life, or their mental health, or bring about mental health awareness and empowerment, and so on and so forth. So anyway, heavy job, not had a full or have a full caseload, and again, I really thought that I was okay, um, functioning like I always do, still, socializing and this, that, and the other. But I realized that no, I'm thinking about death more than normal now. I'm thinking about and I have, I don't want to use the word anxiety, because but I guess it is anxiety, or a form of anxiety, and I know that anxiety is somewhat normal, and we all deal with anxiety, some level of anxiety. We all deal with it. It's because it's a normal emotion. It's normal to have anxiety. But nevertheless, I do think that, anxiety has visited me, or here recently, within the last year or so, more than normal, more than usual. And again, like I said, it's not a day go by that I'm not waiting for another shoe to drop. And what I mean by that is I'm sitting on pins and needles because, you know, it's been bad news just about every day, if not every other day. But it's been so bad the last couple of years. It's been a funeral it's been at least at minimum one funeral a week that we were connected to or we knew of. Maybe we didn't attend, you know, and certainly with the pandemic, you know, there are rules and regulations, you know, that may prevent us from participating in funerals and services and so on and so forth. But nevertheless, you know, we knew of it. We were connected to it. We knew the people, or we knew the person, or it was a relative, it was a family member. I mean, it's just been a lot. And I guess I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, you know, because I've decided, you know, I'm literally, and I'm doing this intentionally. I am literally resetting. I am taking a step back. And so I'm going on a leave of absence from my job. And I'm really going to try to engage in self care. So that's the conversation that I wanted to have with y'all. What is self care? You know, and how do we um, take care of ourselves, continue to do, you know, be employees or bosses or whatever it is that we do, you know, certainly engage in our activism like we do. Um, but, you know, uh, place ourselves as a priority, and kind of move on and reset like that. So, what is self care? Because you know, I read something recently, Angela. Somebody said, and I did. You know, even as a therapist, you know, in the beginning, I used to think that self care was you know, us running off to the spa and you know, taking a day off and going to the spa and you know, getting our nails done and getting a pedicure and getting a massage and you know, and those kinds of things, just kind of a little getaway. But I'm finding out now that self-care is much, much, much deeper than that and much more important than that. I'm finding out now that self-care is really, first of all, it's really about relaxing. It's really about taking it. It's really about a mindfulness, a kind of approach to life. It's really about an intentional approach to life. It's really about saying no. It's really about you placing yourself, you know, as a priority, and not taking a back seat in all things. And you know, particularly as Black women, we got we got a real problem with this because you know we are really good about taking care of everybody else, and I do mean everybody else before we can take care of ourselves. And like I said, self-care is about much, much more than going to the spa. And I even found out that self-care is about much more than taking a nap and sleeping. It's really about relaxing, you know. It's really about relaxing. It's really about living your life in a way that is very intentional, guilt-free. In other words, you know, it's okay if somebody asks you to do something. It's okay to say, no, or I cannot, or I've decided to do this, and be okay with it. So that's what I mean by guilt-free. You know, in other words, because I know we have a big problem with this, ladies. You know, and please talk back to me, because I know we got a big problem with this, ladies. You know, if our children, if our spouses, if our ministries, if our if our jobs, they ask us to do something, we feel really bad if we say no. We feel really bad if we say no. And then we end up spreading ourselves way too thin. And not only, spreading ourselves way too thin, we end up neglecting ourselves. And that's what the harm of not taking care of yourself first can do. You end up neglecting yourself. You can't be all things to everybody else, and also be good to yourself. You cannot be all things to everybody else and end up, being good to yourself. So the best way to be good to other people is to start by being good to yourself. So this is a learning curve for me too. So in this, I'm really trying to find my voice. I'm really trying to be content in my voice. I'm really trying to be again intentional in how I see the need in taking care of myself. And again, that includes setting those boundaries. That includes, certainly, saying no where no is necessary. That includes, maybe every once in a while you need to explain yourself. Maybe. But for the most part, ladies, listen, you don't. No is no. Just like with God. God don't say yes to us all the time. He don't even, and he can, but he don't. He don't say yes to us all the time. Sometimes God says no. So if God has to say no, we certainly have to say no. That's the bottom line. If God has to say no, to some things, and maybe even a lot of things, we have to say no. We cannot, again, we just cannot continue to move, especially in this crisis, thinking that move through it and ignore ourselves and thinking that we're okay. And that's what I was doing, and that's what I've been doing. And the fact of the matter is, I need to sit back, breathe, and just let how I really feel. I'm hurt, I'm devastated, and everybody is treating me, everybody is treating me like what I've been presenting, like I'm okay. And then I end up building up some type of resentment, but because I'm not really okay. But I've been conditioned, right? I've been conditioned as a Black woman, right? In my circles and in my environment, to always present myself as being okay. And ladies, listen, I need to free us up. I need to free the sisters up. And maybe I need to free up some guys too. It is more than okay. It does not mean that we are weak when we're not okay. Does not mean that we are weak, right? When we are not okay. We are not okay. I am not okay after losing so many people. I'm not okay after losing my mother. And it feels like my mother would still be with us. And so many other people would still be with us had that pandemic, or had this pandemic been managed better or more appropriately. But I don't want to get necessarily into those details, but that's part of my angst. That's part of my hurt. That's part of my disappointment, is that this pandemic could have been dealt with so much so much better, that we would not have lost, and we wouldn't be losing people still today. We've lost just as many people in the second year, in the second part of the pandemic, as we did in the first part. And it's ridiculous. So it's still happening. We're still in the pandemic. We're still traumatized. We're still hurting, and then we want to walk around here and act like we're okay. Well, I want y'all to know I'm not. So I'm resetting. I am certainly, engaging again intentionally in reset mode. I'm taking this whole month off of work. I'm taking this whole month to pray and meditate and be mindful and to think about, all of these things that has happened, and how they are impacting me, how they are impacting me mentally, how they are impacting me emotionally, as a woman, and as a person in this life, as a mother, as a wife, as a grandmother, and I'm gonna be real about it. I'm not gonna try to put a face on anymore. I think that that's where we get hurt. You know, uh, I think that's where we get hurt is trying to put a face on. So I want to apologize if I tried to put a face on. I want to apologize for any mask that I've worn, trying to pretend that I'm okay. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, I'm not. At the end of the day, I am not. I'm hopeful. I am hopeful. And I know that comes from my faith. That comes from my faith in an unfailing God, that is able to strengthen me, and that is able to certainly, comfort me, and that is able to, give me whatever it is that I need to to move on, and not only move on, but I oftentimes say this: it's not good enough to God. I believe this with my whole heart. It's not good enough to God for those of us who believe in Him, right? For us to just survive. God wants us to thrive. And so I do believe with my whole heart that on the other side of this, um, that there's a season of advancement, there's a season of growth, there's a season of maturity, there's a season of progress, that is definitely waiting for not just me, but waiting for us if we hold on to our faith in this crisis, in this season. I preached this message a long time ago. Don't curse your crisis. Don't curse your crisis. And so there are tremendous blessings because of our faith. There are tremendous blessings waiting for us on the other side of crisis. On the other side of crisis. All right, so yeah, I don't know. I'm just sharing my heart this morning. I didn't prepare a show because I wasn't sure if we were doing our show today. I wasn't positive. Again, there's so many things going on. We're preparing to get up and go out of town again for another funeral, and to bury another loved one and someone near and dear to us. And so we're getting ready to go be with the Fields family and in Buffalo, New York, and we're sending out our love and certainly our prayers to the Fields and Abrams family in Buffalo, and we will be there soon. So thanks for that. But anyway, self-care, y'all. What is it? What is it? How important is it? How important is it? How important is it? And what is it? And what is it? I mean, it's almost a buzzword again. You know how a lot of things become buzzwords, and then people have this like superficial definition of what it means and what it is. and then they never get deep enough with it to really use it, to well, certainly, apply it to their lives to where, it's impactful and effective. Well, self-care is very important. Like I said, self-care is very important, and sometimes you got to do like what I'm doing right now, and I'm preaching to the choir. Sometimes you gotta engage in self care, like with so much physical intention. Like, in other words, you take the physical step back, you write down your plan, what you're gonna do, how you're going to, certainly engage in self care. And then you practice it, and you practice it, and you practice it, and you practice it. But I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned about self-care here recently is that the number one way to engage in self-care is to also, is to set boundaries. Is to set boundaries. And setting boundaries is the first step that I'm taking in my reset, season. In my reset season. And like I said, I'm taking the whole month of December. This is reset season for me. Regardless of all the other things that I gotta do, this is reset season. I want to go into the new year. I want to go into 2022 with a reset mind, with a regrouping mind, with a mind to refresh and to restart, and to I just want to try to live my best life, and that's what I want to encourage everybody to do. Live your best life. Try to live your best life. And the number one way to do that is to live your life honestly. Live your life honestly. Live your life honestly. Be honest. Be honest with the people around you. You don't have to be brutal, but be honest. Be honest about your voice. Own your voice. Own your feelings. Own it. Own it. And don't be afraid to state it. But live your best and laugh. Put yourself in some social situations, or even if you're at home alone, watch some comedy. You need to laugh. We need to laugh more. Especially during this crisis. My goodness. So, and then y'all, I'm telling you, it's nothing. I don't think there's any better way you can show love to each other than to forgive. Everything is not, like, I'm realizing this. And listen, this, Mother Green, this was a biggie for me. This was a biggie for me. I, I don't know. I think I kind of grew up like a debater. I always played devil's advocate. I always kind of, and I still kind of do. Still kind of do. I should have went to law school or something. I don't know. But, and I did dream of going to law school, but nevertheless, I should have went to law school or something, because um, I'm always debating, always playing devil's advocate, always trying to look at different various perspectives, and this, that, and the other. But I'm finding out, right, that I don't have to have the answer to everything. I don't have to have the right answer to everything. I don't have to be right in everything. And I definitely do not have to debate everything. Even if I feel like, I ain't good with it. Some things we can let go. Mama used to say, and my grandmother used to say, choose your battles. And now I get it. In other words, you just don't have to, have the final conclusion or the final answer in every single thing. And I said all of that to say sometimes we can alleviate a lot of stress in our lives and a lot of conflict in our lives, and we have to do a lot less forgiving if we let some stuff go. And I know that sounds simple, but I can guarantee you it was not simple for me. I'm still learning how to do this. I'm still learning how to do this. but it's also part of my self-care. It's also part of my self-care plan is letting some stuff go. Not trying to, make it perfect, not trying to make every single thing perfect, not trying to make every single thing well with me or, line up with me. Now there's some things, right? There's some things in life where you have to, kind of put your foot down because it's that important to you. And I get those things, but that can't be everything. We understanding each other? I don't know. I'm acting as a therapist today, right? So, but anyway, that can't be everything. Just imagine you're putting your mental in overload if everything has to be that for you, if that makes sense, right? So some things you need to let go. If it's not that important, or whatever, some things you can be lenient with, some things you can let go, some things you can give into, other people about, and this, that, and the other. But choose those things that are most important to you, right? Choose those things that are most important to you. To say, well, this is really important to me that we do it this way because of so and so and so and so. And so some things you have to compromise with, some things, right? I get that you want to definitely have your way because maybe you're the one that's responsible for it. I get it. But that just cannot be everything because I'm telling you, it would be a weight on your mental health. It would be a weight on your emotional health, and that's connected. Your emotional health and your mental health are definitely connected. All right. So, y'all, engage in your self-care, put yourself first. That is not selfish. That is not selfish. That is absolutely necessary because there's no way you can be good to anybody else if you don't know how to be good to yourself. Something that my husband said to me years ago. I was, we've been married for 30 years. It'll be 31 years in February, on February 8th to be exact. And we've been through some things, we've been through some things. But years ago, I was in school. I was in college. Went back to college. How old was I? We got married when I was 23. And I believe I went back to college at 28. I'm pretty sure I was 28. I had some college under my belt, but I didn't finish. Then I got married and we started having children, building a family, building a ministry, and all of those things. And and looking back on it, I didn't realize it, but I was kind of getting lost. I was kind of losing myself and who I was. I was trying to become this first lady and all of this stuff, and trying to become a good mom and a good wife. Looking back, I don't know how good of a job I was doing, but nevertheless, I was losing myself, and that's the reason why I don't know how good of a job I was doing. Um, but when I decided to go back to college, things became a little more weird. Um, so my husband was very supportive, but at the same time, he was kind of missing me in the ministry, because I was going to school on the weekends. Um, that was at the beginning of those new programs. I forget what they call those non-traditional programs, right? Those non-traditional programs at Springfield College, and but anyway, I remember getting really sad, depressed, because it was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of pressure trying to maintain a home, be this first lady, building a ministry, with my husband. Certainly taking care of little ones because they were babies. And I was having babies, at the time. So, and it was a lot of pressure, to keep the house clean, to keep the house organized, to keep, just everything, all the demands. And I remember almost giving in, you know, almost giving in. And I had a conversation with my husband, and my husband said to me, which I never forgot this. He said, he said, no, this is temporary. You're in school and you're not gonna be in school forever. But when you get your degree, when you come back, you'll be a better first lady. You'll be a better mother. You'll be a better all of these, other titles and hats, that you have to wear. And that 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 one statement and that one conversation uh with my husband just kind of changed my whole mentality, just kind of changed my whole mentality. And it also, helped me with the other endeavors that I engaged in afterwards. And that also helped me to start finding myself again. And although, I still, for a very long time, and still kind of is, you know, was in the shadows of my husband and his ministry, and and his persona, and this, that, and the other. I still was in the background, pushing him, but finding myself and finding my way and doing my thing. And so, but anyway, at the end of the day, I thank God for that, because sometimes we have to, again, intentionally do whatever is necessary to engage in self-care. So I realized that then, I was engaging in self-care. I was going to school, but that was for me. That was something that I needed to do for me. And I almost gave it up again. I almost gave it up again so that I could meet the demands of all of these other things that was going on in my life. And I was feeling like, I wasn't doing a good job. But nevertheless, I realized that this is temporary. That okay, I might have some dirty dishes that I got to wash when I get back home, or whatever. But they can wait. They can wait till I get out of school. They can wait till I get out of school, or cleaning up can wait till I get out of school, or whatever. I'm talking about that day. I ain't talking about wait the whole 3 years that it took me to finish up my degree. But you get what I'm saying. So yeah, so you have to do that kind of thing, intentionally. You have to do that kind of thing intentionally. And boy, oh boy, do I thank God that those words were said to me, and that I stayed focused, and that I went on to complete, my bachelor's degree. And that certainly inspired me to go on to AIC, where I got my first master's degree. Met some wonderful friends there that are still my girls today. And then went back. Well, I worked for Springfield College for a number of years in higher education. Those of you, a lot of you know me from that. Um, but nevertheless, and got my second master's degree while at Springfield College. And here lately, I've accomplished quite a few dreams. Um, Quite a few dreams since my mom passed away. But again, I had to do that with intention. So I'm gonna tell you this, and then I'm gonna move on. So when my mom passed away, and I might have said this to y'all before, but I'm not sure. But maybe this is gonna encourage somebody. But when my mom passed away last year from COVID, she and I have been in some conversations about, some of my fears and inhibitions about, some of my ambitions, if you will. And so something had happened where, I ended up kind of stepping out a little bit. And some of you know me from this as well, where I started designing some programs, around the election. And so I, started making some connections and relationships and this, that, and the other. And while I was out there doing that work, the opportunity to become a part of Zeta Phi Beta came into my life, and I got to talk to my mom about that. And I was so excited because I thought I had missed my opportunity. Here I am, 54 years old. At the time, I was 50, no, 52, I believe. Yeah, I was 52 at the time, and so I was like, oh wow, I thought I had missed my opportunity. I'm not too old, and da da da. So it had this, had this conversation, and what really got me was when my Sora now, when she said to me, "You're already a Zeta." In other words, the things that I was doing in the community, how I presented myself, um, made her say to me that I already was a Zeta, and so that this was divine. In her mind, it was divine. And so I got to talk to my mom about that, and we were excited. And my mom said that we were gonna have a blue party, and so we know that my mom passed away before we got to have any kind of celebration. But I I had not been inducted. I was going through the process when my mom passed away, and I had promised her, before she passed away, that this was something that I was going to achieve. That I was going to achieve that, and that I was also going to achieve getting my license in mental health. I have been in the field for a long time, but if I was to be honest with everybody, I was afraid that I wasn't going to pass the exam because I had finished school so long ago. Anybody had this feeling? I finished school so long ago that I was afraid that if, trying to take the exam would be a moot point. And then, unfortunately, I've worked with a lot of people who are yet to pass the exam. Great clinicians, but have had a hard time passing the exam. Passing the exam. They've taken it several times, and I hope I don't sound offensive to any of you out there. You know how much I love and respect you, but it's a lot of us out there. A lot of us out there. Who have not, been able to pass the exam. And then there's not a lot of Black women who are licensed in mental health, at least in this region. Licensed in mental health and licensed in marriage and family therapy. I have my education in both marriage and family therapy and mental health counseling. Nevertheless, and been working in it for 5 years since leaving Springfield College. So, but anyway, I had some fear, I had some trepidation. I have a hard time admitting to that, but I did. I had some fear and trepidation of not passing the exam. But my mother had told me to do it. And when she passed, I made up my mind that I was going to face my fears and that I was going to take the exam. I had everything else. Everything else I already had. I just needed to take the exam, pay for it, and certainly pass it. Well, wouldn't you know it, passed it on the first time, passed it on the first time. And then, again, that's from the inspiration of my mother, losing my mother, but I've gained, my license. Losing my mother, but I've gained induction into Zeta Phi Beta BAS organization here in Springfield, Massachusetts. BAS chapter here in Springfield, Massachusetts. And now, I got two other things, in sight, ready to accomplish after losing my mother, but inspired, by my mother as well. So maybe I just want to end the show by saying that, everything don't have to be lost. when you lose a loved one. You can take losing that loved one and you can allow that loved one to inspire your life to accomplish something. And that's what I plan on doing. I plan on taking my mother's life. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm getting emotional, but I plan on taking my mother's life. I plan on taking my brother's life. I plan on taking my aunt's life. All of these beautiful people that I've lost and I've buried. I plan on taking their life and not looking at it as a loss, but looking at it as how I can gain and push their legacies forward. And I think the best way that I can do that is by engaging in self care, by acknowledging that I'm not okay. And it's okay not to be okay. It's not a sign of weakness, but it is very much a sign of strength to say that you're not okay, that you are still hurting, and that I might even hurt forever. I think about my mother's mother. I had wonderful grandmothers. Anybody have wonderful grandmothers? I had outstanding grandmothers. Oh my God. Oh my God. And now that I'm a grandmother, I'm like, I don't think I can be the kind of grandmother that my grandmothers were. But anyway, I lost my mom's mom when my daughter is 33. She was 5, so that was about 28 years ago. 28 years ago, I lost my mom's mom. And about 10 years later, I was at my mom's house and we was kind of, reorganizing her dresser. And we ran across my grandmother's obituary. And, my mom kind of stood there in a daze for a moment. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm still a little bit emotional. And then y'all sending me love, and that's making me emotional too. So, but anyway, so I was kind of just going through my grandmother's obituary, and I was looking at her picture, and my mom just kind of sat there quietly. And so I said, "Mama, does it get better?" She said, "No, baby." She said, "Every day feels like the first day. You just learn how to live with it." So that's how I feel about her. It's like every day feels like the first day when she passed away, but you just learn how to live with her after loss. So I'm just embracing that. I'm just accepting the fact that that life won't be the same, and that's okay. And that is okay. That's okay. Life won't be the same, and that is okay. And that is okay. But she will inspire my life, and she will continue to kind of dictate my life in
Hey,
the
Mr.
same
Swan,
way that she
I
did
just
when
want
she
to call in and let you know I'm watching the second half of the show. And I appreciate you. You have a blessed day, too. It's Brother Jules from Maryland.
I don't know what just happened, but God bless y'all. I don't know if y'all want to call in. We only have about 5 more minutes in the show today, and I just gave my heart this morning. I didn't prepare a show because I wasn't sure if we were gonna be on again because we're getting ready to go out of town for yet another funeral, and I wasn't sure if Bishop was gonna be on the show or have the show today. But nevertheless, if y'all want to call in, I do see the comments. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, Michael. I understand your pain. I understand your pain, and yes, like my mom said, every day feels like the first day. It's something about losing parent. Yeah, it's something about losing parent. You're welcome, Angela. Thank you so much for saying that, Mother Green. Yes, Mother Green. Them grandmothers are something else, right? Them grandmothers are something else. Them grandmothers are something else. I mean,
Caller,
yeah,
you're on.
yeah.
Caller, you're on the
Good
air.
morning. Good morning. How you doing, Bishop?
We're good. How
Can you
you?
hear me?
You're on the air.
I'm blessed. I'm listening to your wife, and I can share the same pain. My mother passed away 11 years ago, and I tell you, I still listen. There's not a day that don't go by, I shed tears. That's my best friend. I know she gone to a better place, but you know what? Sometimes we still miss our loved ones. So, we must just keep on just praying for one another. So one day our time got to come. We always got to be prepared. God bless y'all. I'm praying for. Let's pray for one another. Thank you.
God bless you too, brother. Listen, the best thing that we can do to honor our loved ones' lives is to pay respect by living a better life. By living a better life. I say that a lot to my nieces and nephews, the grandkids of my mom. So wherever you are, whatever condition you was in, when she passed away, the best thing you can do is to improve your life. Improve your life, so improve your life and honor her in that way. Honor her in that way. That's what I tell my nieces and nephews, and that's what I tell my own kids about losing their grandmother, losing her. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Mother Green. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, listen, everybody. What I need you to do is to just be conscious, just be aware that your mental health matters, that you taking care of your self-care matters. You as a priority is important, to your quality of life. And don't feel guilty about setting boundaries. You need to set boundaries. You just need to set boundaries. That's the most important thing that you can do in order to engage again in self-care. Anybody want to say anything about that? Anything else? Any other callers? I know I'm not as exciting, as my husband. I'm not trying to be, actually. I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to be me. I do enjoy doing the show. I do enjoy, the political commentary, but I also enjoy, bringing practical, real life, realistic conversations to those of you who chime in and listen to the show on Monday mornings at 10 o'clock. I think that is really, really, really important for us to, if we're going to engage in conversations like you have with my husband every Monday morning, which is very stressful, which is very tense, which can also trigger a lot of trauma, that you also need to recognize that you need to balance things out. You can't stay on 100 all the time and not take care of yourselves. So listen, I'm all for us being politically aware of what's going on, socially aware of what's going on, us being engaged in our own, spaces and in activism and advocacy for justice, for our people. But that can also be very exhausting. That can also be very stressful. And so you need to balance things out. by taking care of yourselves, loving your families, making your family a priority, making you a priority. And, you just can't surround yourself with that kind of intensity all the time, 100%, and be well, uh, without, again, resetting or vacating or relaxing or resting or socializing. Somebody else is calling.
Hi, First Lady Swan. This is Angela. I know I said it in the feed, but I did want to say it again. Thank you so much for opening up. Tomorrow is my father's birthday, and he has been passed for 10 years now. And you are so right. I don't know if I'll ever get over it, but it's I'm learning to deal with it. And it's been, you wonder how long is it going to take, and I finally accepted that it may be the new. This is what it is. And self-care, First Lady, while it has not been defined totally for me, I'm still trying to figure it out. So I'd love to hear what you have to say on that as you develop what self-care could look like or may look like. I'm sure it'll be different for every person, but I appreciate you at least starting this conversation. We love you. I have you in my prayers, and please have safe travels as you travel to do these homegoing. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Angela. I really needed that phone call. Thank you so much. Yes, I totally agree with you. I do think that self-care might look different for everybody, but I think you made the key point. I think what we need to do though is do a better job on defining what self-care is. Defining self-care. In other words, like I said, self-care is not going to the nail salon, getting your nails done and getting a pedicure, whatever the case may be. And relaxing is not just sleeping. Relaxing is not just sleeping, just like we've been conditioned, to do certain things. We also need to recondition ourselves to learn what self-care is, to also learn what relaxing is. And so self-care, relaxing is part of self-care. Boundary setting is part of self-care. And owning your voice is part of self-care. And being honest is part of self-care. So, getting your nails done can be part of how you pamper yourself. But self-care is how you take care of your mind, your mentality, your heart, your emotions, and then certainly your body, and your spirit. Most of all, your spirit. So I think it was a little after 11. I'm surprised that Bishop haven't said anything. I'm sure he has a meeting or something to get to. It's Monday. And then we have to prepare to get ready to go. So I hope I didn't bore y'all too much. I hope y'all hang in there for Justice and Flow, the show. Like I said, part of the resetting is also resetting the goals and the mission statement for the Justice and Flow show. It will continue. I thank God for it. And like I said, I pray over it. I pray over it. Justice and Flow didn't just come into being, y'all. It was prayed over. So this is a manifestation of it. And so I hope to use it as a vehicle to again bring some awareness to our mental health. Certainly, I'm a therapist by trade, so that's going to be a natural part of it. Certainly, continue the political commentary and the social commentary that Bishop and I have, and then we want to have some fun. Sometimes we want to talk about marriage. We want to talk about family. We want to talk about community. We want to talk about all things, all things, all things. So all of those things that help us grow, help us love, and help us laugh. So thank you for joining another segment of Justice and Flow. Love y'all.
All right. Check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts, 11 o'clock a.m. on every Sunday. We're also streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, etc. Say a prayer. Pray for one another. Have yourself a terrific week coming up. Take care of yourself. Get in the gym after the holiday meals, all that kind of stuff. And until the next time we talk to you and you talk to us, always remember, God loves you. So do we. Peace.